Taylor Swift was the biggest story in the NFL this week. But don't worry, there were a bunch of other games as well. Week 3 was pretty intense. I mean, nothing's making sense in this world. Obviously, high profile relationships are taking over. We have insane blowouts. We have coaches who straight up don't want to win, and a lot of other things that are happening in this amazing league. So, week 3 of the NFL is going to be discussed right now, and we look ahead to week 4. Hayden and Alex Cornell, you join me. What's up, gentlemen?
What up? How are you?
What up, Matt? Happy to be back.
All right. I'm happy to be back as well. So, as I mentioned, let us talk about what happened this week. First things first, before we get into the relationship everybody wants to talk about, there is even one story I even think overthrows that, specifically NFL. And Hayden, get ready. Because we had the New York Jets play the New England Patriots. The Pats win by a score of 15-10. And this game, in the rain at the Meadowlands, we see Zach Wilson, who I admit I am a part of this, is the punching bag for every football fan in the world right now. And he is making his case on showing why he is such a big mistake. And for some reason, and whether it is optics, whether it is to save each other's asses and languages, the Jets, for some reason, give a vote of confidence for Zach Wilson. And everybody sees that this guy cannot play quarterback, yet they still put him out there. And I understand. Believe me, there are not a lot of options out there. But the fact that this quarterback is still holding on to the ball too long, this guy is sacking himself, this guy is throwing to the knees, this guy will show his arm strength for one Hail Mary, but he clearly is showing, and the stats show, that he is not an NFL quarterback. And with that, let me toss it to Hayden, who has the more personal connection to this, and tell us your reaction to Zach Wilson's performance in week 3.
I mean, I can't really get mad at him. He should have never been in this position. He should not have been drafted number 2. They should have had a better backup plan besides Aaron Rodgers. This is all on management. This is all from the organization itself. It's just infuriating. And what more do you have to do as a general manager to get canned? Like I don't really know. The guy's 21. Like I say it every week, but it's the same thing. The guy's 21-48. He's missed on 2020 draft. He had a 2020 draft was a bust completely. 2021 draft, honestly, besides Vera Tucker, Elijah Moore isn't playing anymore. 2022, we got 2 consensus picks. You completely screwed up the quarterback with Rodgers. You've been saying for 5 years, this guy's supposedly an offensive line guru. They still don't have a line. It's been 5 years we've been trying to fix it. And, he completely messed up Darnold, too. He said he was going to, when they got the job, the Jets, he said, I'm going to protect Sam. I'm going to do whatever I can. He said that to his parents. Clearly did a great job protecting him. He was gone after a year. I mean, like, what more do you have to do? Like, I'm sorry, you signed Dalvin Cook, who looks like he's running in quicksand. If I'm not mistaken, he's averaging about like 2 or 3 yards a carry right now. He's just been horrendous.
2.2.
Their line is just awful. Like, I'm literally going to give you analysis of Zach Wilson in comparison even to the other quarterbacks the Jets have drafted, which has failed. Okay, he doesn't have the leadership even Sam Darnold has, and Sam Darnold wasn't exactly a great leader. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have the arm strength even Geno has. Doesn't have the pocket presence or mechanics that Mark Sanchez had. These are all quarterbacks who were considered not good enough and Jets bust, and he's significantly worse than all of them. He makes them look like Tom Brady and Joe Montana combined. And I'm not even saying this like, listen, maybe Zach Wilson can find it like Geno did down the line in the next couple of years where he has a better chance and a better system, not New York. Maybe that is true, maybe. Maybe he needs to reset and be a backup quarterback. Like you saw Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert, for example, was a bust on the Jaguars. Goes to have a 13-year NFL career where he backs up Brady, wins a Super Bowl, plays a little bit in San Francisco, revitalizes his career, and stays in the league for 13 years. So, like, maybe Zach Wilson could be a backup quarterback for another team. But his years as a starter are finished beyond belief. And it's just and it's also, for all the hype that the defense gets, and I understand the defense only gave up 13 points in the game. That the safety was 2 points. So they ended up losing 15-10. Defense only gave 13 points. Well, like, the defense does not do enough to generate pressure or make game-changing plays. Like, it's a very good defense in terms of keeping the opposition off the scoreboard. But when you have an offense that is so offensively challenged, like beyond. I haven't seen an offense this offensively challenged ever in my years as a Jet fan. And I've been through Sanchez, I've been through Geno, and I've been through Darnold. This is probably as bad as it gets. You need to have a defense that can constantly pressure the quarterback. You need to have a defense that can get a takeaway. Like, they had no takeaways and no sacks. They haven't.
Yeah.
I didn't think they.
And the Patriots were asking for them to get defeated. The refs were helping them out.
I mean,
Mac Jones played terrible, and they still couldn't figure it out.
Mac Jones was not great. And by the way, we'll talk about Mac Jones. He's a dirty player, by the way. I mean,
I saw that complication that went out.
He's a dirty player. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But, like, you could see even Mac Jones can, push the ball downfield. He looks like at least an NFL quarterback. Like, Zach Wilson doesn't look like an NFL quarterback. And it wasn't all on him. That's true. But, like, at the end of the game, when you have, like, he thinks he could beat Tyler Conklin for a check down, which is fine. But, like, on a 4th and 10, he has to make one guy miss. Well, Tyler Conklin's not a fast guy. This isn't like throwing it to Tyreek Hill and expecting him to beat one guy. Like, come on, bro. And, like, he doesn't utilize this. Like, he has all this yards to run, like tons of yards to run where he could at least slide, make a play. And, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the play calling was good because it wasn't. The play calling's been terrible.
Nathaniel Hackett should not be there.
A little bit. And, he's good in a hurry up. He's a little better in a hurry up offense than he is under center where he's on the huddle. Like, you need to run like almost a hurry up offense. Like, I'm saying, like, let's go. And then they started to move the ball a little bit. So maybe we need a little bit more hurry up. I think we need some more end arounds. We need to use McCole Hardman, who magically they paid for and doesn't see the field. Like every other player they get, never sees the field. I think he saw one snap in the game. McCole Hardman.
What about Will McDonald too? Your first round draft pick.
Another one of Douglas's fine selections. Another one. Doesn't see the field ever. I could go on and on about how terrible the selections Douglas has been made. I could go on and on. But he signs these free agents who they don't even play. And Dalvin Cook, I mean, you overpaid for a guy who, like I said, is in quicksand. I mean, it's unbelievable how slow he is running in the field. Am I wrong on that, Alex? Am I wrong on that, Matt? Like, you guys watch the game. Like, it's just unbelievably bad. And,
I think
it's just frustrating. They're going to say the right things. They're not going to publicly, lambast their teammate, throw him under the bus, which they shouldn't do. I wouldn't expect them to do that. That's not what a teammate does because the guy is still as your teammate. You got to look at him like personally. Like, I get on a professional level. You wouldn't want to do that to a professional. Like, I understand that. And Sal is basically saying he's our guy because he's basically being pressured by Douglas and ownership. So that's the optics of it, the situation. Okay, let's be honest with you there.
Play this quarterback.
Right.
He can't play.
I mean, that's all my analysis on the game. I'm not talking about Zach Wilson anymore. I'm tired of hearing about Joe Namath, who got his legacy off one game. He has 172. He has almost 50 more picks in his entire career than he does touchdowns. Guy threw 172 touchdowns and I want to say 220 interceptions. And he also he got his legacy off one game. Like, his stats were terrible, respectfully. Even in the 70s and 80s, the guy's numbers were terrible. I don't want to hear about him anymore. He has a lifetime career completion percentage of 50.1.
Yeah.
And he has 173 touchdowns and 220 picks. So, like, I don't want to keep hearing about this guy. He has his legacy off one game. Just shut your mouth and be quiet, okay? Your opinion means nothing. You're 50 years ago. I don't give a shit that you won a Super Bowl 50 years ago that I have to keep hearing about all the time because our team can't win one. I've heard about that every single year for the last 20 years I've been a fan. I don't want to hear about him anymore. I don't. I don't want to hear him. I don't. Shut up. Just shut up, Joe Namath. Please.
Go back
to say about this game. I don't have enough time for this crap. I mean, I think fans are going to start throwing stuff on the field next week. I'm going to be there. I mean, they're going to start throwing stuff on the field, or there's going to be a fire someone chant, or you got to stop.
Might be both. Might be both. I hope you take a hot dog and throw it on the damn field.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Wilson is causing people to break relationships. There's one man. I don't know your pain. I mean, my teams are bad, but this is weird, and it's just having these adults, run these organizations and playing us like fiddles. And again, that's why I say I know the optics, and this is the point where the Jets are a corporation at this point where they can't shoot him down. But it's just, I think we have said everything we can say on Zach Wilson.
Yeah, 100%.
The only other thing I could say is just Robert Saleh, who's going down on the ship with him. And you're right. There's not much else we can add with besides us two, besides just saying that he is just saying what he has to. I
Same
don't know
message.
behind the scenes if he is really saying what he has to say, but it's just unfortunate, and it's just as big of a mess as it goes. I know it's week 3, but it feels like it already feels like week 16 for the Jets.
It was over in the first week of the season, so.
And yeah, there's going to be a long time till Aaron Rodgers comes back. It is. We literally have 12 months until you could try again. And at that point, is there a new head coach? Is there what? But the thing is, as long as the fans get mad and your season ticket holders don't show up and you sell those tickets to the opposing team, then maybe Woody Johnson will do his due diligence and try again and find somebody else who could do it, whether it's the GM or the head coach. And it really shows one decision in your life can change everything. And Joe Douglas choosing Zach Wilson at 2. And I always say the joke, I really think they picked him because of that one viral clip of that long throw in his combine. But
yeah, I know.
It's there's nothing else you could say. It's just really a waiting game at this point before we just keep complaining and complaining. You were saying, Alex?
No, we're good. Let's hit the next one.
Yes, and the Patriots are 1-2. Mac Jones is a dirty player, and he's got to stop hitting people in the private parts. And he's got to stop holding on to things.
To be honest with you, they did a good job running the ball versus the Jets.
Yeah,
I'll give them that. They ran. I want to say they ran for over 100 yards in that game.
So I understand if you guys are annoyed about this subject, but it does have to be brought up. The Chiefs and the Bears played a game on Sunday. The score is 41-10, and there is a lot to talk about the Bears and the Chiefs, but we do have to mention that the big story was that Taylor Swift was in a suite watching her boyfriend, something, and she was cheering on Travis Kelce. And this one situation leads to the highest rated game in years, highest regular season game in years. This leads to a 400% increase in Travis Kelce sales. This leads to jersey sales. This leads to everybody talking about this story that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are something. We don't know. They're hanging out. They're at the level where she can go to the where she could sit on a suite with Travis Kelce's mom. And conveniently, they are playing a team that really are in disarray all over the place with the Bears. On the field, off the field, I mean, it's bad. Like, I know the Jets are a mess, but the Bears really are like.
Oh, the Bears are even worse.
That's saying something. So Chiefs took advantage of that. Chiefs are being Chiefs. I think the more of the story is the Bears, actually. But I have to ask your guys' opinion. With Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, and to spin this a little differently, do you think this is a distraction for the Chiefs season?
No, I don't.
You don't think so?
No.
I think it's a huge distraction. They're focusing more on that.
They're good enough where it really, in my opinion, doesn't work.
No,
you have the best quarterback in the league. If they can't focus, with Taylor Swift dating Travis Kelce, there are bigger problems there.
They're professional.
That is true.
Yeah, they're professionals. She's just a whore. She's probably just there to get run train on and sell some jerseys. So she'll be out of the picture in a few weeks.
And that's another question I have. Do you think this is going to last? Let's say, will this last until Thanksgiving?
No, I think this is going to last for a while. I don't agree with you guys on that.
No, she's a narcissist, and so is he. They'll probably part ways in a few weeks.
So we see this as a high-profile situationship.
I don't really know about that. I actually think it could last.
So Hayden, you see, maybe this is love. I mean, if it really is, it's really hard.
I think there actually could be something behind it.
I want to talk about the game.
Facts. And we'll get to that really quick. But, all I will say, and maybe this is a story for the tweet cap on Thursday, but on Friday. So this might be just a tweet cap story on Friday, but I think people will focus more on the relationship as the weeks go on until it ends. Whether somebody gets bored with somebody else, I don't know. But if they are trying to establish something, it is definitely really hard to have the entire world on your shoulder like that. It's already hard enough to try to establish something when nobody cares. But we'll see how this story progresses. But on the game itself, Chiefs playing great offense. The Bears, though, the big thing to take away is, one, Justin Fields is a bust. We said it last week. We made a clip on it, and it didn't help against the Chiefs that things looked even worse. And again, leaving people open, getting sacked, and he's similarly like a Zach Wilson. It doesn't seem like the guy has any confidence playing in the next level.
Well, I still disagree with that premise. I'm not the biggest Justin Fields defender, but I've certainly talked enough shit about Ohio State quarterbacks in years past. But
look at CJ Stroud, we'll get into.
But I think this coaching staff and this organization is continuing to fail him. I don't think that they have any roster to speak of, any semblance of an offense to speak of, and for him to have 22 snaps in his own hands to make a play, I just think is unfair and unjust. And I'm not the one playing victim here for him, but it's just, you look down the roster, there's really no one to really speak of outside of DJ Moore. And even him, he's on the back nine of his career. So when you have a defense that's out there for 36 minutes, they're going to be exhausted. You're basically setting him up for a shootout that he can't win. So he has to win a certain way with the offenses he has, and he can't continue to keep inheriting a tired defense. So,
Eberflus is the worst.
I'll add on to that a little bit. I mean, they're on right now 13-game losing streak in which they've allowed 25 points or more in every single game.
In the NFL and the pros,
their defense is absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the worst units I've seen in a very long time. But that being said, like, I don't necessarily believe it's all on Justin Fields. I think he's an athletic quarterback. He's a great running quarterback. As you could tell, he had the most rushing yards in a single season from his first year ever. In his last season, the most rushing yards for a quarterback ever in a single season. So there's definitely a lot of talent there. I think as a passer, his footwork and mechanics definitely need to be improved. But definitely, I think there's some talent there. I wouldn't say he's like the least talented quarterback I've ever seen play in the NFL. I would not say that. I think he needs the right coaching. He definitely needs a different offensive system. I think this year the Bears probably going to end up cleaning house. Like their GM probably is going to get gone. Matt, who's a defensive guy, he's probably going to be gone. So they're going to be probably cleaning house, and then maybe cleaning house with the quarterback too. Just a sad situation, all, but that's a really, really bad team. Like they're brutal. Next week we get the great fortune of seeing the Bears Broncos. That should be
I could smell that through my TV screen.
And then the following week we get the Broncos versus Zach Wilson and the Jets. So the Broncos may be lucky because they probably have two of the worst offenses in the league coming up. So hopefully, Sean Payton actually can do something. Instead of run his mouth like he's been doing and produce nothing in return. But that's for the next game we'll talk about. But in terms of the Bears, they're a dumpster fire right now. They are just absolutely terrible.
Terrible. I want to ask Matt a very simple hypothetical. You swap Justin Fields for Jalen Hurts. Does he look this bad in an Eagles uniform?
I think Jalen Hurts plays much better. The guy's continuing his
that wasn't my question.
Touchdown. So
does Justin Fields look as bad right now if he was in the Eagles uniform?
No, probably not. I'm sure with those weapons and better protection, Justin Fields is able to prosper a little better. It doesn't help when you have revolving door linemen and he's running for his life. And right. I think that is a fair assessment. And again, playing in a team where you have a former coordinator in some really hot stuff, you can make your conclusions on that. And then you have, the people just stealing stuff out of their facilities. They're trying to move out of that historic stadium. I think it's just the franchise who at one point, is an original NFL franchise with a great history. And ever since Lovie Smith got fired, it seems that it's been a bad time at all, except the one year they made it to the NFC Championship against the Packers in 2010. Jay Cutler.
Well, they had one good year with Matt Nagy where they went to the
Right,
the
that
double
too,
doink
and Cody
game,
Parkey.
the double doink game. But yeah, they had Trubisky. They had a good team that year. They won 12 games that year, but they haven't been good since.
Right, but I think on in the best case scenario on the Eagles, I do think Justin Fields does play a little better. Especially, I mean, look at those rushing yards he was able to get, even in his worst towards the end last year. But at the end of the day, not to harp on the Jets again, they are even worse than the Jets, and that's saying something for a team with a classic history.
The Jets defense is still a top 10 unit in terms of just
Yeah.
everything. Jets have a great defense. It's just it's eventually will crack because they're under so much pressure to make a play.
Yeah. And I guess also the last thing to mention with this game is we have Jawan Taylor, right? Do we feel he's getting targeted by refs? He had 5 penalties against him against Jacksonville.
Well, he has a false start, and he has a false start problem when they noticed that he essentially lines up before the cadence and he kind of moves the feet a little bit, which the NFL refs rightfully pointed out. I want to say it happened in the game versus Jacksonville where they just weren't calling it, but the NFL realized and they looked into it. So I mean, it was something the coaches noticed, and if the coaches noticed something, it's good that they pointed out to the league. So I don't think he's being unfairly.
Even with Andy Reid's comments during the presser, even saying that he feels he's getting targeted, do you think there's any validity to that?
I think the coaches in the NFL are smart enough to notice when something is out of whack or not being enforced, so they let the officials know, which is what they should do. So no, I don't think he's being unfairly targeted.
Yeah, no, I couldn't more. I feel the same way about it. And certain guys stick their neck out too much, and particularly during a game. And I think that some of these younger refs have more of a reputation to be a little more retributional, and sometimes it's unjustified. But certain players have that magnetism, just like certain players are afforded more rope. So I think this is one of those situations.
So then you guys don't feel that you think Andy Reid's complaining a little too much on that, and any instances of being harassed or stuff should be let go if anything.
The officials credit, like the NFL's officials credit, if they miss a call, they did send a notice to the Jets last week that they missed a roughing the passer versus Dallas, where they just flat out missed the call, and they did send a letter to the Jets like, hey, we were wrong in that call. So the NFL does take some accountability in that. So I'll say that.
Yeah, I think if it's
respect it,
then it's something else. But coaches are always going to chirp and can be complaining about everything anyway. So,
all right, I hear that. So we have the Miami Dolphins host the Denver Broncos. This was the score: 70-20, 70 points. They scored 10 touchdowns in one game, and for a team that was very cocky and talking a bunch of smack before with Sean Payton, even calling out head coaches, he has an 0-3 start. But I think the big thing I want to get into this, are we finally declaring that the AFC's best team, and I'm saying team, not offense, but team, is it the Miami Dolphins after the first 3 weeks? Obviously, the powerful offense with a very ideal running back by committee, with a very stellar offensive line, with Tua, who people wanted him to retire. I understand for health reasons, but he seems to be leveling up and already playing like an MVP in the first 3 weeks. Plus, you have a defense that is somewhat underrated with strong pass rushers, and you're going to have Jalen Ramsey return in a couple weeks as well. Plus, Mike McDaniel, who I think deserves his flowers with his great offensive mind. And I don't know, is it because he looks like he works in IT? People don't want to give him the credit. I know he's a goofy guy. I know he says some weird things, but man, that guy knows how to play chess in this league. Miami Dolphins are a team to really watch out for in the league. And I think this particular game showed for it. And this was not a bad defense they played. This was a very respected, highly praised defense, and they scored 70 points. And they had the opportunity to break the NFL record for most points scored in a game, and they kneeled the ball down, which was, classy move. I think might as well get the field goal at that point, but I respect McDaniel's decision there. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think it's just one of those games where they kind of went off. But credit to the Miami Dolphins, they look really good. They got Achane, Devon Achane. He had a huge game. I think they were the first team in NFL history to have over 300 yards passing and 250 yards rushing in a single game. They had over 700 yards of total offense in the game, which is ridiculous. That's literally unheard of. And that's even Mike White had a big game in the backups. When they put in the backups, he was
Mike White and Chosen Anderson.
It was a blowout of massive proportions, and it's embarrassing. It's they had 726 yards total offense, 376 yards passing, and 350 on the ground. They averaged 10 yards a play, which is
that's the most telling.
They had 30 first downs. I don't think the Jets have had 30 first downs in the last 5 years. So yeah, it's kind of crazy, but it's I mean, I think it goes to show you they have so many speedsters in that team. Wow, they can really fly. So they're gonna be a really, really tough team to beat. I mean, whatever New England did though, New England kept them to 24-17. Christian Gonzalez shut down Tyreek Hill, so there is a formula to beat them. They only beat San Diego by 2 points, so it's like, are they so? I think this is one. I think it's going to be an outlier where they had one game where they just obliterated everyone. But I mean, I don't know. I still don't really completely, like, at the end of the day, trust that defense entirely. I think they're pretty decent defense, but I also think they're not versing like one of the best teams in the league. I mean, they're going to play Buffalo next week. I think they're going to be tested versus Buffalo, to be honest.
And early, Buffalo's are favorites coming into that.
I don't know. I think that's going to be a good game, but I mean, they haven't necessarily seen a quarterback like Josh Allen that can really. Well, Justin Herbert's pretty good, but Josh Allen has a little bit more mobility than Justin Herbert, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, every other team besides the Jets, Josh Allen is an All-Pro quarterback. When he plays the Jets, all of a sudden, for some reason, I don't know. Maybe I guess I wish the Jets could play defense like that versus every other quarterback, but
right,
yeah, but Josh Allen is an All-Pro quarterback, and they're going to be versing an All-Pro next week. So I think it's going to be interesting. Miami's going to be playing at Buffalo, which is going to be a little bit colder. I mean, they played at Miami in the warmth, which is a little bit different right now. Even Buffalo in October is different than Miami in October, obviously. So it's going to be difficult. You're going to be dealing with the wind, and I think they got to get after Tua a little bit more, because I feel like he hasn't necessarily been under pressure under as much duress, and with Buffalo's defensive line, I think they're going to be able to get after Tua a little bit. So it's going to be a good game. But I am impressed with what I see with Miami. Definitely right now they're one of the fastest teams in the league, if not the fastest team in the league, like in terms of how they can run down the field. But that's just what I saw. I'll let Alex go on a little bit. So.
Yeah. No, you made a lot of great points. I think that obviously it was like a beatdown of epic proportions. Denver has far more holes than I even expected them to have with inheriting Sean Payton. I think the most telling stat, like you said, Hayden, was the fact that they were picking up 10 yards a game. I mean, 10 yards a play on average, which is just ridiculous and astounding. And it bears out with the third down efficiency as well. They didn't even have 10 third downs to even deal with the entire game. But moving forward, when we preview this team and where they rank in the hierarchy for the AFC, I think it's still yet to be seen if they are the top dogs. It's only been 3 weeks. I think if we fast forward to the Buffalo game, I think that they do squeak out and they become the favorites coming out of the first quarter of the season. But there's multiple ways that they can win. There's one way that I think that they could keep it close, and I think New England kind of alluded to it, which is ground and pound, keep the defense on the field and wear them out, because like you said, I don't think that this defense is all that it's made out to be. I think that they're very soft and they have to win in an offensive style, and that's what this roster is built for. I think McDaniel is a masterful offensive coordinator. I know he's the coach, but he really is more of an offensive coordinator, and it'll be interesting to see how Buffalo prepares for this game. And how that coaching staff prepares. Are they going to send 5 more than once or twice per possession on defense? Are they going to try to push them off the field? And then how does Tua respond in the short game? Is he going to start throwing a lot of stuff out of the slant? Is he going to try to get the ball out quick? How is that offensive line going to be able to hold up against that pass rush? So it'll be very interesting to see how that game plays out. And it's a very different animal playing up in Buffalo once it starts getting cold.
And I think the most telling story from that game was Sean Payton claiming, what a genius he is. I have the worst coaching job ever for Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett never had a defense that played that bad. I mean, oh my God. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett, at least every game they were pretty close. I mean, the worst coaching job is right now what Sean Payton's done, how he's, talks trash about everyone. He talked trash that Tua should have been benched at one point a couple of years ago, and that claim out. I mean, the guy literally has just been running his mouth for 3 years, and to come out and just lay a freaking goose egg like this, I mean, for the first 3 weeks, like he got what he deserved coming to him. The guy's cocky as hell, overrated, rode the coattails of Drew Brees for his entire career, and he only won one Super Bowl, mind you. Only got back to one NFC title game even after that. So a little bit of an overrated coach, in my opinion. I definitely feel like there were guys like Eric Bieniemy and other coordinators I feel like should have got a chance over Sean Payton. Personally, I think Bieniemy would have been a better coach right now than Bieniemy would have been. And then Sean Payton would have been. I generally believe that right now, but that's for another day. But I mean, we'll see. They play Chicago and then they play the Jets. So this 0-3 start could quickly be 2-3, and then you're feeling a little different at 2-3 than you were at 0-3. So.
Well, how long? That's a great point. And before I hand it off to Matt, how long do we give Russell Wilson the affordance? Because Sean Payton was essentially brought in to not only make this a winning team, but to fix Russell Wilson, whatever's going on between his ears. So
I think he's actually been playing better, if I'm just being honest. I think he's been better the first 3 weeks, but I mean, Sean Payton has no patience for this. So I mean, I wouldn't be, like I said, I think I mentioned this earlier in the show. I wouldn't be surprised if Russell Wilson got benched by like week 10. Like, I would not be surprised.
That's what I'm at.
There is,
they just don't like each other.
No, I don't really feel like Wilson and Payton really like each other, which to be honest with you, Payton's a difficult personality, if I'm being completely honest.
He's Colin Coward's best friend. Is that a sign of anything?
So is Russell a little bit, but I mean,
the goo gobbler.
I mean,
too many cooks in the kitchen sometimes.
I think Sean Payton's going to kind of want his quarterback a little bit. So,
Well, if you're the offensive guru, you got to make it work with whoever you got. I mean, Russell Wilson basically has the same arm talent and build that Drew Brees had in New Orleans.
I know who I also heard was an offensive guru? Adam Gase. I also heard Joe Douglas. So, yeah.
Oh, God. Never again.
That seems like 50 years ago, Adam Gase era compared to what Robert Saleh is doing. I mean, again, I want to harp on it again. The Jets, they just always make the wrong decisions. And I mean, it seems like the Knicks at one point. I hope that's not the case this year, especially finally a year that there is actually hope in the season. The Mets, somehow the Yankees are tasting that Kool-Aid. Something's in the water up here. I don't know what it is.
I mean, what's also shocking about this game is that they kept Russell Wilson in the whole game. Like, you're down 50 points.
That's just punishment.
That's just that's almost like malpractice. It's like irresponsible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll ultimately see where this leads. Now the Steelers and the Raiders. Steelers win 23-18, and what a stupid ending this game was. Down 23-15 in Raiders territory, but in Steelers territory, mind you. You're telling me that the Raiders decided to kick a field goal instead of trying to tie the game with 5 minutes left? What a stupid goofball McDaniels is.
And they kicked the field goal to make it 5 when they could have just went for it and got a touchdown and 2-point conversion, which I guess they didn't want to have to get the 2-point conversion when they scored a touchdown, which.
Well, can I put on my hat? Maybe it's.
Yeah, yeah, you can talk a little bit more about this because
I don't have much to say because similarly to how Hayden feels about his pathetic Jets, I am equally disgusted with my team. They're a shell of themselves. McDaniels is he should never really show his face in public, quite frankly. Same with Mark Davis. I thought that this game should have been over well before the fourth quarter. They shouldn't even have been in a position to be able to tie it, but they were. And it goes to show you that this offense is completely sackless. They have no testosterone whatsoever to actually get anything going into the end zone. And when the chips were on the line, when they actually had an opportunity to win the game, they completely ran away from the opportunity. Jimmy G was just a disaster. He had the 2 turnovers. He couldn't pick up very simple first downs through the first half. This game really shouldn't even have been close, and it's embarrassing when you're outplayed by a second-year quarterback like Pickett, because I understand Tomlin's a good coach and he knows how to get his guys ready, but Vegas, this should have been their coronation at home. There should have been a huge home opener, making a stand, and they just completely whiffed on it. They looked ill prepared, and they looked just really lackadaisical on offense. And as the weeks go by, it's just a matter of how much are you going to waste of this of these great players like Devontae and Max Crosby in particular. How much of their prime are you going to waste? I know that they've treated them well. They've gotten good contracts. They're getting their touches. They're getting their opportunities. But at a certain point, it's just not fair to them to continue to surround them with just trash rosters. And again, I mean, there's no questions answered from the weeks prior. Like, where's the secondary? Where's the accountability for these bonehead penalties? And where is Hunter Renfrow in the offense?
That's what I was going to ask. Where's Hunter Renfrow?
Where the fuck is Hunter Renfrow? Why is Josh Jacobs picking up 6-yard catches? That's Renfrow's job. They should be running out of the slot. They should be playing a little read option. I mean, it's unimaginative offense from a guy who claims to be an offensive guru, similar to Sean Payton. And it's sickening, because if you're going to be good at one thing and you're going to tie your identity to it, then knock it out of the fucking park. We knew that this defense was going to be Swiss cheese dog shit from day one. But at least if you could couple an unbelievable offense, which they had on paper the past 2 years now, then you could kind of make up for that and you could win a certain way. But they can't even do that.
Nope. And Steelers keep coasting by, getting these two big wins to start the season. And maybe some people are, especially defensively, maybe they really do have something there, make a return to the playoffs, especially TJ Watt. Just keep eating people alive, and he's slowly turning into, if not already, the best defensive player in the league.
Yeah, the Steelers look pretty good. I mean, TJ Watt, like you said, they have Joey Porter Jr. too.
Yep.
He had a really good play in the past breakup to end the game. I mean, definitely they have some players. Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett throwing that long touchdown to the. Yeah, he had threw a long touchdown to Calvin Austin.
Yep, sure that's him.
Yeah, Calvin Austin, the rookie. He's a burner down the field. So they threw a long touchdown to him. So that was pretty awesome. This is back-to-back games in which they've had a 70-yard passing touchdown. So it kind of shows they're starting to stretch the field a little bit. So I think Kenny Pickett looked better under Matt Canada's offense.
And Matt Canada's trying to have people for some, I know he faced some criticism after week 2, but making some pretty strategic moves as the game went on.
Yeah, definitely is starting to improve.
If you want,
Najee Harris finally looked a little bit better. Got a little bit of burst of speed. Didn't quite look as slow as he did before. Still is fast.
Yeah, that's the weird, especially for a fantasy owner.
Jalen Warren, who can kind of plug the holes a little bit in terms of that running back. So they got some pieces. I don't really love their offense, to be honest with you. I think their offense kind of is lacking a little bit. But I mean, they do have a great defense and a defense that's going to carry them. And Kenny Pickett has proven he can make plays in the clutch, which is a pretty good thing that you want from your quarterback, in my opinion. So I mean, we'll see. They're going to be around like an 8. They won 9 games last year. They'll probably be around the same 8 or 9 wins.
That's right.
I don't feel like they have enough talent to be. I don't feel they have enough talent and offense to be one of the elite teams in the AFC. But they're definitely going to hang on in the playoff picture the whole season. They're going to be pretty competitive.
No doubt on that. Excellent points there, Hayden. So the Bills had another dominant victory. They defeat the Commanders 37-3. 5 turnovers for Washington. But back-to-back confidence booster games for the Bills, and I think they are back into a good place as the season progressed after a very tough loss to the Jets in week 1. And Josh Allen playing much better as well. I think that's the thing to take away here. One, the Commanders started off the first 2 games, especially offensively, as a team that may hang in there, especially with the return on. They're also having some major players on defense return, like a Chase Young. So they're okay, but a very ugly home loss doesn't help them out. But the Bills getting momentum back that they needed, very crucial, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo. I think every team needs like a wake up game. I think at one point where they just kind of lose to someone unexpected or something happens where it kind of wakes them up. I mean, that first game versus the Jets, like if you don't like for Josh Allen, you learned if you don't hold on to the ball and you don't take care of the ball, you're going to lose to any NFL team because NFL teams are good enough to make you pay for your mistakes. So, I mean, what I think Buffalo learned is that if Josh Allen could hold on to the ball, take care of it, still take his shots when need be, but be a little bit more conservative with the ball, still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. They're still an elite team. So Stephon Diggs, they still have Gabe Davis. They're starting to run the ball a little bit. They still got a great pass rush and a good secondary led by Tre'Davious White. So, I mean, for sure, they're gonna be one of the elite teams in the AFC still. Whether who's gonna win the AFC East between them and Miami, it's gonna be up for grabs. But they're gonna be in the playoff picture definitely this season. They're a very good team still. So I think it was kind of just that first game kind of got out of the jitters out and kind of woke them up a little bit to say, hey, even though we have all this talent, if we don't play to our potential, we're still not going to be able to lose games. We're still not going to be able to win games. So I think that was actually kind of a good thing for Buffalo. I think they needed that, and I think the rest of the season is going to be pretty good for them. They should be in 11. They should win about 10 or 11 games, in my opinion. They're gonna be pretty solid.
Yeah, every team needs a statement game. I think this was an early setting the tone type of game because we had a few questions coming into this game about um, how good their offense would be. We knew they would probably win this game. I think the spread said so, but you're absolutely right, Hayden. I think like every team needs a statement game like this. I still have my reservations about the run game, but it's very little. They haven't been asked to do much. I think once you start seeing some of these tighter games down the line with the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, James Cook ran for 98 yards on 15 carries, so he had a pretty good game. And Josh Allen, you have a mobile quarterback in Josh Allen, so if you think about it, if you get like 60 yards from 60, 70 yards from like James Cook for your running game, plus like another 45 or 50 from Josh Allen,
Sure,
get you 110 yards, 120 around that range.
Right. But what I'm saying is like, are they going to be able to sustain that in a game like with Miami where it really is crucially important and vital to control the clock and keep the offense the ball out of it?
Definitely. That's going to be a tough one. I think I would give Miami the edge on that because I think they're a little quicker. James Cook has actually played pretty decent last couple of games, but I think it was good. Luckily, they didn't have to do too much. The pass catchers didn't have to do too much, luckily, but
yeah, and I still think that Jacksonville at home might be a tricky game because we're kind of down on Jacksonville temporarily because of the way they've kind of come out of the blocks a little slow, but I think they're going to get their
Jacksonville's a good team.
Yeah. And November 5th, I still have my eyes on because I think by that juncture, I'm going to go down with the ship if Cincinnati hasn't cleaned up their act by then. But I do expect Cincinnati to start getting back to their old form by the next few weeks of the season. So
yeah, and New England's still a tough team. You get New England gets them at home. So New England's got a good defense. They got Christian Gonzalez who shut down, Tyreek Hill and now Garrett Wilson. So he's been pretty good.
Yeah, solid first round draft pick so far. The Chargers played the Vikings. The Chargers really like to gamble. I don't know. Brandon Staley really likes to gamble his job, I guess. But the gamble wound up working. Chargers win 28-24. Vikings just could not capitalize.
They got to stop. They actually missed the fourth down call that he actually called. But then luckily the defense got to stop and bail them out.
Right. Exactly. So I think the Vikings are a lame duck team getting ready with the new regime. They got a younger GM. Clearly Kirk is out. I mean,
no, Kirk is they're not losing because of Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins.
No, I know. I'm just saying with everything else and
I get you. I hear you.
Yeah. it's leading to things changing. That is it's coach in his second year, but Kirk wasn't his guy. I'm sure they want to really reset. But like I said, maybe I will admit, after watching that quarterback documentary, I'm such a big Kirk Cousins fan. I just want it to work out for the guy. But life is about opportunities and being in the right place at the right time. And it just seems this team wants to transition to a younger place. Now, obviously, there's still a lot of football left to play, but it's not promising. It doesn't look too promising. You don't want to waste Hawkinson and Jefferson and players like that. I will say Austin Matheson is not looking like a solid replacement for Dalvin Cook either. He's struggled once again.
They also their backup running back too. So
yeah, so tough things for the Vikings, but the Chargers still hanging in there. Now they do have a bad loss in Mike Williams tearing his ACL after going in. That will be a big factor going in, but both teams in unique places go up against each other. They both needed that win, and it was the Chargers who got it.
yeah, I mean, this is essentially a game of which team was going to choke worse, and unfortunately, we we learned that the Chargers made one more big play. These teams are like trying to lose each game at one point, so kind of crazy, but
Well, the Chargers have a bye week at home next week, so I'm sure they'll continue their winning ways. I agree with the sentiment of what Matt said. I think that with Minnesota, they have a lot of promising organizational structure coming in, with a new GM, and I do believe in their coach. I think they have a lot of things working for them on offense. I think that Kirk Cousins was the right person at the right time for yesteryear. I think that he took his money in Washington, and he was a good bridge gap quarterback to be able to take them certain places. But it's time to move on, and they've done a lot of great things reforming this defense. I think that the Chargers are a handful on offense. I didn't expect them to come out of this game in one piece, but you look at the rest of the NFC North, and I think Green Bay is ahead of schedule, even though I still think they're kind of a paper tiger. Detroit's definitely ahead of schedule. I'm very high on them, and we'll see how things shake out this weekend with that matchup. But you want to stay competitive with this emerging rebuild program that the two of them are running in Green Bay and Detroit. And if Minnesota is going to stay on schedule and stay on pace to compete with them, they need to make wholesale adjustments as well. So I think that Minnesota, they may start to tail off this year and regress towards the median, which is what I expected in the preseason picks. And they're going to have to make tough decisions this offseason.
Very much so. And again, it really is too early to project tanking. Even though, again, I feel like it's only week 3, but it feels like it's week 16. I think just with so many weird things happening. It's raining every damn day. Everybody's angry, but there's still a lot of football. It's not even October yet, so let us enjoy this ride. But if we have to talk about the tanking and people trying to make it just more apparent than ever in this, what have you done for me lately, and making results right away, then I guess that might be the way we're talking about some of these teams as the year goes on. But what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? So the Browns played the Titans, and the Browns won it for Nick Chubb. And the offense looked pretty good, even though there was a point where Watson literally threw it backwards, which is a hilarious blooper we'll have for a while. But again, looking good on offense, and the Titans clearly had a hard time scoring. Derrick Henry is not as dominant. He's getting older, and it's tough. And we see why we are transitioning to running back by committee offenses. And it generally is tough to see, because I know those star running backs, your Saquon injured, J.K. Dobbins injured, Nick Chubb injured. Who am I missing? No, there's one more, but regardless, the point is that for Derrick Henry might be the last of a old school offense, 1 pound and ground running back, and yet he's not able to produce that. We know Ryan Tannehill is not. It seems he's not clearly the guy anymore. I'm sure we're gonna have a quarterback switch towards the end of the season, whether that's Will Levis or Malik Willis. Again, even though Malik Willis in his few games he started looked pretty bad. But the Titans looking like I know they have a win already, but it was not a promising game. They were not ready to play against Cleveland.
And I called this game too. I said that Cleveland don't fall in love with the upset on the road. I expected them to win this game and take care of business at home. I thought this was too critical a game for Kevin Stefanski and that team to kind of set themselves up in the AFC North. I think right now that division's wide open with Cincinnati having their trouble and Baltimore having their trouble as well. And I think that when you look at the numbers, I mean, this game was total domination. It really wasn't close. I thought it was just a masterful job on the coaching staff for Cleveland. They really, game planned well to minimize Derrick Henry. We knew what they were going to do on offense, Titans from day one through this whole season. We know the limits with Tannehill. And Vrabel just never adjusted. I mean, and they played a sloppy game. They gave up. They had 80 penalty yards, which is a huge no-no if you're going to extend your drives. And Cleveland dominated the time possession. They basically doubled them up. So I think that they have a multifaceted formula for winning that they're going to carry through the season, and it's both on the ground and through the air. And even in spite of not having Nick Chubb, I think that this offense is good enough with Kevin Stefanski's leadership to continue to keep this train rolling. I think the jury's still out on who's really on top in that AFC North right now.
I mean, it's hard to say. I actually think the best team in terms of the first 3 weeks has probably been. I think the best team right now is Cleveland. The best through the first 3 weeks. I don't know. I don't think that will be the team sitting at top of the standings at the end of the year. But I think the best team right now is probably Cleveland in the first 3 weeks. If they can get quarterback play from Deshaun Watson, that's very good. I think they have the least amount of holes right now. But that being said, who I think will win the division is probably Baltimore.
Why don't we talk about Baltimore then? They had the Colts with Gardner Minshew run up on them and create the comeback. Colts win 22-19. What did we think about this?
I mean, I don't really put too much stock in it. I mean, every so often a team chooses to surprise a team on a given week. I think people are actually underestimating the Colts. Colts have been pretty good the first couple of weeks, actually, surprisingly. I mean, Gardner Minshew played pretty good. Apparently, they have the league's secret weapon, Mac Gay.
He's looking like a really solid kicker.
Yeah, I want to say he had like 4 field goals of 50 or more. Yeah, I want to say
he was a journeyman kicker, and I don't know, maybe they like it in Indy.
So yeah, he had first kicker in NFL history to make 4 field goals of 50 yards or longer. That's never going to happen again. So there's just certain weeks that you get lucky. Like they everything well happened to the Colts in that week. Like how often is that ever going to happen, Alex or Matt? 4 field goals of 50 yards. Like those are tough kicks. Like they're not like gimme kicks like that. You don't snap fingers. So not too much of I'm not going to make too much of a knee-jerk reaction, but I do think perhaps that the Ravens were overlooking the Colts with a backup quarterback and Gardner Minshew. And the Colts defense has actually been surprisingly okay. They held the red hot offense for the Ravens to just 19 points in the afternoon. So we'll see. I mean, I'm gonna let Alex analyze this game a little bit.
I'm gonna rip you a new asshole, Hayden, because I've been hearing nothing about all this Lamar love for weeks and weeks on end, and I'm not letting you guys off the hook. This Baltimore Ravens team gave up a gimme at home. They had no business losing this game. They had every opportunity in the book from
I agree with that.
From the fourth quarter to overtime. You have the better coach, you have the better quarterback, you have the better defense, you're at home, the weather conditions are in your favor, and you still blow it. And look, Harbaugh should have outcoached this rookie coach, and Minshew had no business winning that game, but he had enough force to pull that out of his ass. I've had grave doubts about Lamar's ability, and especially with losing J.K. Dobbins and having a more minimal structure behind the quarterback.
And playing more of a pocket passer instead of
he cannot make the routine throws when it's needed. He cannot be 6 of 16 on third down. It's just completely inexcusable. And especially with a team like we were saying that the AFC South was probably the worst division in football this year. Yeah, they may have surprises here and there, but by and large, they're a bad division. So you can't tell me that losing to the Colts is like is a feather in their cap for the Colts. It's inexcusable for a team that's supposed to be making this ascension into the playoffs in the AFC. And when we start breaking down the hierarchy and the rankings as we will through the year, because the AFC is so loaded, we cannot continue to keep putting the Ravens in this conversation if this is the product they put out at home.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually not gonna sit there and disagree with you on your analysis and what you just said there. I mean, there's no reason. Like I said, there's no reason Baltimore should have lost this game. I agree with that, but like every so often a team does lose a game which they were completely favored, and like I kind of see it as more or less than that. But there is certain issues that the Baltimore Ravens have been having in terms of closing out games, and for the last 2 years actually, they've actually blown. I want to say they've blown more 10-point quarter leads, 10 fourth quarter leads more than any other team in the NFL. I want to say that's true. So, you know, Baltimore, since the start of the 2022 season, Baltimore's been outscored by 46 points in the fourth quarter and overtime. That's the fourth worst by any team in the NFL during that time period. So that's actually kind of an issue in terms of they've had it closing out games. So yes, you can say that could be an issue moving forward. I do think they have one of the. I would say when he's fully healthy and functioning, I would say Lamar Jackson's the most versatile quarterback in the division. I would say that though.
He's not a quarterback. My issue is the best thing they do is run the football. But what happens in the second half when they basically get blanketed on the ground game and they can't get back off the mat. They can't be resilient. So if the defense strategizes and comes out of the second half and basically has a game plan for your one-dimensional offense, everything you need to know is right in the stats, especially with this one. That's why I almost wish I had Bars tonight, because he had 2 touchdowns. He had 2 tubbies running it in, but he had nothing through the air. 200 yards through the air, no touchdowns. It's just unacceptable for a guy you're paying quarterback money for. I'm sorry. Like, he is a running back he's a running back masquerading as a quarterback. I'm sorry.
No, I wouldn't disagree with you. I don't agree with you on that, because he's had years in which he's led the league in passing touchdowns. I actually think he's gotten better each year as a passer. So I would not say that all the guy does when he's on the field is win games. Look at his record. Look at his record as a quarterback right now. All the guy does is win games. Like, I'm not saying maybe he's the best passer in the entire league, but I mean the guy's a pretty good passer. The guy throws a dart when he's throwing. I definitely think he's a pretty decent passer.
Gardner Minshew. Sorry.
I mean, he probably should. I agree with you on that. They definitely should, but it also is one game too. I mean, you know, I'm not going to take too much stock in one game.
My concern is you're going to close out games. You have to dominate time possession. You have to be able to control the clock. What happens in the second half when they shut down your defense? What happens when they shut down your run game from a defensive perspective from the opposition? You have no way to come back. You lose your.
I think they're gonna really have to look it over Baltimore in terms of like how. I mean, I think their defense is surprisingly bad. They should have done a little bit more of a start.
Could be better, yeah.
In my opinion, like, you're putting the game a lot on the offense, which is you're right, but like, I mean, you should win. You should be able to hold Gardner Minshew to under 20 points.
100%. And I stand by my pick that Baltimore misses the playoffs this year. Sorry.
I mean, with their running game right now kind of being depleted, it's not a bad pick. I'm gonna choose to trust Lamar Jackson, the guy in the playoffs, is Philly's healthy, because I believe when he's been in the league and when he's been a full-time starter and when he's played a full season, they've gone 11-4 and 13-2. And in 2018, when he played 7 games, they were 6-1. So if I'm looking off what his all-time record is 47-17, I'm gonna trust that guy, in my opinion, when he's on the field fully healthy, to be a quarterback that can take his team to the playoffs. Like, I'm going to trust that guy all the time. I would take that odds 70. I would take those odds more often than I would not. That being said, it is a different situation this year. They have a new coordinator in Todd Monken. I think the receivers got to step up a little bit more. Rashad Bateman's got to step up.
The AFC's better.
And they have a pretty tough division in the NFC North. Assuming the Bengals can get back to form. You got Zay Flowers, you got Bateman. They're gonna have to find a way to get Zay Flowers, a little bit more involved, although he does have 21 catches for the first 3 games.
And you know who they don't have? Odell Beckham Jr.
Odell Beckham.
I know he's on the roster, but
Devin Duvernay is a good special teams player, but he's not exactly a wide receiver one. So They could add a wide receiver at the trading deadline, in my opinion, Baltimore. But I mean, you did draft Zay Flowers for that exact
Maybe
reason.
that's who you get GJ Moore.
He's actually been pretty good, Zay Flowers. Like I said, 7 catches. If you do that for a 16-week season, I mean, that's pretty good if you have almost 7 catches a game. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen per se. But 16.
Let me
712 receptions. So
let's fast forward before we move on, Matt. Let's fast forward 6-8 weeks. Let's say they go 500 over the course of those 8 games or 6 games. Who are we going to put the blame on? The OC, who's just brand new there, or Lamar Jackson?
A little bit of both. You definitely put the blame on Lamar. Definitely. If you're getting paid, I want to say he's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, if not the highest. So
Maybe third highest.
Yeah, he's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. Let's just say that. Yeah, I mean, if you're putting it, for him to be you want him to be like a 3,000, 4,000 yard passing guy consistently. So yeah, you could put the blame on Lamar Jackson. That's fair.
All right, we'll see.
I know one quarterback that we do have to praise though is CJ Stroud, and the Texans win and defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars by a score of 37-17. The Texans coming into this they're usually known to dominate the Jags, and that continued. Despite another 2 games in a row where the Jaguars struggled on offense, but we said they still should have the potential and overcome a slow start. But I mean, CJ Stroud, guys, the question I'm going to ask is CJ Stroud good? I mean, 64% of his passes to start the year, already 900 yards in the air, hasn't thrown a pick yet. The man looks very confident in the pocket. The man looks like he's making good decisions. With these pretty much no-name receivers like a Nico Collins, he's able to get them the ball, and things are looking pretty good for the Texans offensively. And again, CJ Stroud is no doubt been the best offensive rookie so far.
Yeah, I mean, CJ Stroud is just the first quarterback, in NFL history with 900 yards passing and 0 interceptions in a 3-game span. He did this in his first 3 career games, which is, very, very, impressive. So he's only the 3rd player in NFL history to with at least 900 yards passing in his first 3 games, joining Cam Newton and Justin Herbert. So he's been really, really good through his first 3 games. He's definitely a guy who looks like he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to force to be reckoned with in the AFC South. So,
and remember, people were not giving him a lot of respect coming into it. They were concerned about his test scores, which is the dumbest thing to evaluate a quarterback.
Yeah.
And look what he's doing now.
Yeah, no, he's got a good build. He looks like he's a guy that could stay. That's going to stay. I mean, the AFC South all of a sudden has become a rather intriguing division, assuming Anthony Richardson is going to come back healthy, because he's a guy who's been dynamic with his legs. Through his first 3 starts, they've been able to get 2 wins with a combination of Richardson and Gardner Minshew. So assuming Anthony Richardson's healthy and can run too, it's going to be an interesting division, actually. I think the gap is closing on the Jaguars faster than they would think. I do think the Jaguars.
Oh yeah, they gotta get ready for this.
I do think the Jaguars are going to win the division, but you also see in the NFL, there are certain teams that have teams numbers, like the Browns versus the Bengals. The Browns consistently have the Bengals number every year. The Jets versus the Bills is another example. The Jets for some reason play the Bills better than any other team at home. So there are certain teams that just have like certain teams numbers. Like for example, the Chiefs have beaten the Denver Broncos, like I want to say 50, or they had previously 15 straight times.
The Patriots have the Jets number.
The Jets, yeah. So there's just certain teams that have certain teams numbers.
Everybody
feel like the Texans are one of those teams that just has the Jags number.
Some reason the Giants, they have people's numbers in the playoffs historically, but not in the regular season lately.
Yeah, I think. Well, we kind of alluded to the bigger takeaway from this game. I mean, I want to give props to a young CJ Stroud. I think he's got a bright future, and we'll see how see if they can keep the rest of their games this year competitive. But Jacksonville better clean up their act, because we were prematurely crowning them as right up there at the top of the hierarchy
I
Kansas
was there
City.
for that. I said
I was
Trevor
there for
Lawrence
that.
MVP.
I
No,
predicted them being
I
the
know.
number 1 seed in the
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I'll say that.
if we need, yeah, so if we're gonna hold them to that standard, we need to kind of rip them apart, because I think that obviously, like, this is a Houston game, like, they have their number, but it's still inexcusable from a coaching standpoint. I mean, Doug Peterson's clearly the regarded guy, and he's at home. And with Jacksonville, they have to own this loss. It's a home loss. It's an easy win at home. Supposedly on their schedule, we looked at their schedule pretty formidably, and a lot of bigger opponents coming down the pipeline. But for now, they have to win these games, and my fear is that as the season progresses, these gimme games, they're going to look back at as missed opportunities to kind of stack up wins. And when it gets towards the end of the season, I think that's going to be the difference between them being the 1 seed versus a 3 seed, because I don't think that Kansas City is going anywhere, even with their early struggles from week 1. So I still have full confidence. Like, I thought Trevor Lawrence played a decent game, with the exception of the turnover, but this defense needs to do more with a young Houston team. They should have taken advantage of Houston.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, Alex. What I have been very very surprised about is, like I said, I think the gap's closing a lot faster than I thought it would. These teams like Houston and Tennessee's a dumpster fire, so I'm not even gonna really talk about them.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they've won they beat someone, but of course they beat the team that chokes every game away in LA. But the Colts and the Texans have definitely surprised me a little bit how competitive they've been. I did not expect them to be this competitive with their young nucleus and quarterbacks and new coaches as well, D'Amico Ryans and Shane Steichen. They've been surprising, I have to say. So clearly I underestimated the AFC South a little bit. So that's one of the areas in which I'm genuinely surprised. I actually had the Jaguars finishing first in the conference more as to how porous I thought the division was going to be. And now maybe I have to reevaluate that a little bit, because I think that could be a division that's going to be surprisingly more close than people think. Like, I'm still going to take the Jaguars. I still think they're the best team. But that being said, it's not going to be as much of a cakewalk as I thought it would be.
Interesting. Okay.
Absolutely. So let's continue. Oh, man, my phone turned off for a second. Okay. We had the Seahawks defeat the Panthers by a score of 37-27. And the big thing there, we have the Seahawks running game getting some noise. And with Andy Dalton as the backup coming in, they do score points on the Seahawks defense, but simply the Panthers defense was outnumbered, and they had a hard time containing Geno Smith and the offense for Seattle. And again, probably talk throughout a long time throughout the season. Panthers, remember, are a rebuilding team. They have a lot of work to do, and they really need to figure out Bryce Young, especially when he comes back. So nothing to really harp on in Carolina too much there. Maybe the Jets should have traded for Andy Dalton at the time, but again, it's too late for a team that doesn't need a backup that's already rebuilding. But again, as Hayden mentions, pretty much when the Jets see a good idea, they say, let's not do it. So just a takeaway there. Seahawks trying to make up for lost ground after their first loss, but I think at least Geno Smith playing better after a rocky first couple of games.
I mean, I think also you're seeing that their running game is also pretty stout. They got Charbonnet, they got Kenneth Walker, who's been really good. Lockett and Metcalf's a good combination for offense. So they got actually a lot of quite interesting pieces. Geno Smith has definitely come into his own after last year and just completely revitalized his career in Seattle. He's been looking really good. You see him encouraging people on the sidelines. He's been everything you wanted and more from a guy for Seattle. And that's not even taking account they have a new young receiver too, named Jigba, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Who I think actually needs to get his training legs off. He hasn't been as great as I thought he would be. But that being said, he's also a rookie. 3 games into his career, so wouldn't really look too much into that. I think he'll come around soon, but they have definitely some pieces there in Seattle that could be intriguing and they're gonna be a fun team to watch because they're gonna put up points on the board.
100%. Yeah, I'm really excited about them being able to crack the code with Kenneth Walker, really get all the juice out of him. He almost had 160 all-purpose yards in this game, and I thought that they did a lot of things right from an offensive perspective. Gino, I mean, I still need to see 2 full seasons, and I stand by that, stand to that protocol. But I think that he's clearly on the ascension. They're a lot better than I give them credit for. But they also did this last year, so I think they need to prove it through the duration of the remainder of their schedule. They do have a tough schedule, and they did what they're supposed to. They beat on a young, bad team at home. They took care of business, and I'm still concerned about some of his decision making. I mean, the turnovers obviously not good, but they took advantage of a backup quarterback, and the penalties are still too much. I know that's not an offensive issue, but from a 53-man roster perspective, I just think that they need to clean up some of the screws. So I think that falls on Pete Carroll and getting that team a little more disciplined.
Yeah, you don't want penalties to ruin you. You know, the one other thing.
That's too close.
It's weird to say because usually when you have a lot of penalties, that's a result of bad coaching. But I mean, Pete Carroll's a Hall of Fame coach, and he's keeping them together. So, but regardless, you can't pass with sloppy play.
They have Jamal Adams coming back next week versus Giants, so that should definitely help them.
Man, he's been out for a long time since he goes out since last week, week 1 last year.
Forever, so it's
nice week 1 last year, I think.
Nice to see him actually get back on the field. So
even as a former Jet.
Yeah, no, he was.
I'm sorry, I keep mentioning. I just have so many opportunities.
No, he was a beast on the Jets, and I can't really. Probably they should have traded him, but he's also, he also made an all-pro team with the Seattle Seahawks in 2020. So,
right,
definitely, he's a guy who's going to make an impact for sure.
So, how about this one, gentlemen? We had the Arizona Cardinals defeat the Dallas Cowboys by a score of 28-16. And Alex, did you call this upset?
I sure did.
Yes, you did. So tell us how you were feeling with this against I think they were 12.5-point underdogs, and they won. And they won pretty handily with Dak making horrible decisions. The Cardinals offense was just all over this Dallas defense without Tavon Diggs. And give Cardinals credit for a team that was just absolutely disrespected throughout the entire league. They have been in their 3 games against very tough opponents.
They were a couple of plays away from being 3-0. Like legitimately, like they should have beat the Giants. They should have beat the Commanders. Like they've been really competitive. Like they're gonna win some games this year. Credit for to Jonathan Gannon, who everyone's been making fun of all the time. Lackluster motivational speeches or whatever. I mean, you get together. Competitive. This guy Joshua Dobbs has been very good in the first 3 games. So credit to him. He's good. He's definitely earned the right to be on an NFL roster for a long time. He should be their backup quarterback moving forward, Joshua Dobbs, because he's proven, he could play well in a 3-game span. I'm excited to see them when they get back Kyler Murray. They're gonna be a fun team to watch. Not gonna be they're not gonna be I don't think personally they're gonna be in the running for Caleb as much. I think the Bears. I think the Bears probably get the worst team, to be honest. And if the Jets continue with Zach Wilson, could be, but I'm actually very pleasantly surprised about how competitive the Cardinals have been.
Yeah, I thought this was the perfect game for Dallas to show up ill prepared. And I kind of call. I don't have as many fears or concerns about Dallas over the long term of the season. I still think they're going to be right around the 3rd or 4th best team in the NFC,
even without their injury issue.
Correct. Yeah, I think they'll still make up for it and they'll fill in those gaps. They may pick up someone at the trade deadline later into the season as well. But I thought this was a perfect game for Arizona to make a statement to kind of save their season. It felt like a very prideful win on behalf of Coach Gannon, and kind of getting all that that camaraderie. I still think that they're a bad team. I think that a lot of these bad teams don't know they're bad until later into the season. And they basically overperform at the beginning of the year and kind of give a different perception. And a lot of that is rightfully so. They're playing hard. They like playing for their coach, and I think Joshua Dobbs inspires more than Kyler Murray because he's got something to play for. Kyler with his contract, he just feels a little more gluttonous in that locker room. So I'm not necessarily sure that they're going to be better off in the long term per se with Kyler back. Now that doesn't mean that Joshua Dobbs is a better fit nor a better situation, but it just feels like that they're playing harder for him. I think that, again, like Hayden said, I don't think that they're in the running to play for Caleb. And the reason being is because the NFC is wide open. And I feel like that they feel like the gap between the bottom of the conference and the last playoff spot is less marginal than if it were in the AFC. And I think
definitely that's a good take. I agree with that.
Yeah. And I think that that's an important thing to when we think about how these NFC teams orchestrate the rest of their roster, in the context of over the course of the entire season. So I think that they'll keep a lot of games competitive. They'll probably make some mistakes because they're a young roster, but they're very exciting to see. And I thought this was like basically the easiest pick of the week to have an upset on Dallas' part.
Yeah,
Look at that, and you got it.
I don't know if the competitiveness is going to lead to wins, but they're going to be competitive. But I don't think
and
they're
they'll close spreads.
Like they're just not talented enough at the quarterback position
and
other positions throughout their entire roster to win a ton of games. But I think they're going to be surprisingly competitive. I just don't think they're going to win.
Yeah.
Or Josh Dobbs, but he at least has shown he's got a dog in him at least.
No, he's done well enough to have his spot on a roster and on an NFL team without a question. He should be a backup. He's miles better than what we have at quarterback right now. Jets. Oh my God, he's miles better.
And if Charlie Villanueva is ever due for a Halloween party, he can stand it.
Like the Jets win that game versus New England with Josh Dobbs.
Clearly. By the way, Hayden, Rich Cimini just released a report.
I just saw that. It's don't even get me started.
That Robert Sala's about to lose the locker room for his support with Zach Wilson.
We knew that was going to happen. We knew that. So,
Again, I mean, you saw them fighting up. You saw players fighting with coaches on the sideline and all that.
I don't have enough time. Let's talk about the other games that are going on.
1-17, calling it right now.
I mean, not bad, but
2-16.
They'll win some games.
Anyways, the Packers down 17-0 in the starting the second half. They defeat the Saints 18-17. Jordan Love has the pressure and he pulls it off. Great win by them. A scary moment for a second with Derek Carr being hurt, but it looks like he will be week to week with an AC joint issue. So, very entertaining game. Probably the most competitive and entertaining game I thought throughout the weekend. And shouts to Jordan Love, what they have there without Aaron Jones and Christian Watson too. Pretty solid stuff. And, maybe the Packers got a quarterback in here, but shouts to the Saints too, despite not scoring in the second half though. And we know why with the, with their injury issues, but they too are something to watch out for. Alvin Kamara comes back this week. Of two teams that went up against each other that I guess you wish this game was later in the season because both of these teams are pretty good and have great futures ahead.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like what you talked about. Jordan Love has been awesome. He threw an absolute dart to like a back shoulder off his heel that Matt Flory even commented on, like what a throw that was. He's been great. Right now, probably in the NFC North, you could argue he's the best quarterback in the division. Probably, but you could argue he's the best quarterback in the division. Kirk has been playing great. So is Jared Goff. But you could argue that they're almost just as good as the Lions. Lions are beatable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to give praise for Green Bay coming back against adversity at home and winning a tough game. I think that defense for New Orleans is real, and I thought that they just got a little gas towards the end of the game, but they pulled out, a tough, ugly game at home, a low-scoring game. And I think Jordan Love, as the weeks go by, he's starting to impress me a little more. That division, as we've always said, is wide open, and I think that it's very winnable for Green Bay. They look like they're very ahead of schedule. If all things considered, they pan out to continue a path forward in winning. But I'm a little disappointed in New Orleans because it shouldn't have taken Derek Carr's injury to be able to close out that game. They should have had enough juice.
Oh, 100%. You have a 17-0 lead in the fourth. You got to close that game out, regardless of.
It's inexcusable. It's inexcusable for a team that we were giving them premature praise for in a wide open division, similarly with the NFC South. And I think that you have to bring that game home, even on the road. It's really no excuse. Dennis Allen is a good enough coach to make that happen. And you can't clench up and play conservative in the second half. You need to continue to keep taking your shots.
It's definitely not that early. I'm sorry. It's just that is a ridiculous way to look at a game like that. We're only winning by 17.
I think the one team that's actually going to go after I think the Falcons are going to go after Kirk Cousins, if I'm being honest.
The Falcons,
I do, because
for next season or
no, for this season.
Really,
Desmond Ridder just not doing anything, and I feel like at 2-1, they feel like that division's wide open. You get Kirk Cousins, you're the best team in the division. So I actually think they're going to go after Kirk Cousins.
That's a good transition. Talking about the Lions defeating the Falcons by score 20-6. The running backs team can't do everything, and they weren't able to score. But shouts to Jared Goff, and looks like this tight end Sam Laporta,
yeah,
Sam Laporta,
yeah,
leading tight ends in receptions, and receiving yards. Jared Goff got a nice dump off option right here, especially after Hawkinson left. So good stuff there. But Hayden, you think changes are coming in the future for Atlanta, and you think they're a quarterback away?
If they don't get going at passing on Atlanta, they're going to be toast because their running game can't do everything. They have to have a very specific formula to win a game, which is when you have to have a very specific formula to win a game and you don't have that formula, it's very, very hard to pivot from that. Like for example, there are teams that are run first and then they have to pass first. And it usually doesn't work. Okay, I mean, when you have a guy like Desmond Ridder who's right now averaging 155 passing yards a game, that's just not good enough. And they've won 2 games because their defense has played well and because their running game went off. When you have teams that are going to stack the run, I personally do not believe Desmond Ridder is that guy that can really expose a team's secondary or really throw it down the field a lot. I don't. And in a division like the NFC South where it's wide open, and I do think they're a quarterback away because they have some good pieces. They have Bijan Robinson, they have Tyler Algier, they have Kyle Pitts. They have a lot of great pieces there. I think you have to go grab a quarterback if he's not going to show more than what he's showing right now at this point. Desmond Ridder, he is a 3rd round pick. Desmond Ridder, it's not like you drafted this guy number 2 overall. Unfortunately, the Jets did, so we're stuck with him. You're not stuck with Desmond Ridder. You can move on, have him be the backup quarterback. You could do different things with Desmond Ridder. He's on a shorter lease, in my opinion, than these other quarterbacks. But if you're looking at it, but also from another perspective, if you're looking at it, you got New Orleans who's going to be playing with a backup quarterback in Jameis Winston, and then you got Tampa Bay who's going to be playing with Baker Mayfield. So it's Desmond Ridder 1,000 times worse than any of those quarterbacks? Probably not. But that being said, if you want to have a real advantage and really feel like you could take the division pretty handily, you go after Kirk Cousins or you go after a quarterback that you feel like can get you over the top. I'm not saying I think they need I think they should be in the market for Kirk Cousins. That's just me. It's very, like I said, it's very hard to win with a very specific formula, and that formula doesn't work. It's really hard to pivot off that.
You heard it here first, and I will respect your wishes, Hayden. No more Jets talk for the rest of the day. But, that would just be, I can only just imagine the reaction if he went to Atlanta. I love football.
With Detroit, conversely, they took care of business at home. They beat a young team. Dan Campbell and that team look pretty good. How do we feel about their chances heading into Thursday a little bit?
It like I said, it's gonna be a really good game actually. Like I think the most complete team in the division is Detroit. Like you can't argue Detroit probably has the best roster on paper out of
Yeah.
anyone in the division. That's true. I do think what's a concern with Detroit is I think they have to get the run game going a little bit more.
Yep.
They haven't been able to run the ball as effectively as I think people anticipated. That's an area in which I think they're going to try to get it going a little bit more versus Green Bay. So that's one area. Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs went 17 of 80, so that's pretty effective. Like they've been able to run the ball like a little bit, but I think they got to keep going. They got to keep going with that and keep utilizing Jahmyr Gibbs because he's a dynamic playmaker. But he has 139 yards through 3 games. I mean, it's not on 31 carries, about 4.5 yards. It's about like 4.5 yards a carry. It's not like fantastic. So, but so I think they got to get going a little bit on that side of the ball. But, there'll be days in which Jahmyr Gibbs rushes for 100. He's that type of back. And he's a rookie too, so I'll give him a little bit of time.
It wasn't pretty in San Francisco on Thursday night for the New York Football Giants. Giants looked really bad on defense once again. They gave up 30 points, 101 points given up by the New York Giants defense in the first 3 games. What the fuck? Including that, missing tackles all over the point, making Deebo Samuel look invincible. And I mean, he is, but how do these players not tackle like that? 49ers offense is a problem as per usual. There's really not much else to add with them. Even without Brandon Ayuk, Brock Purdy is composure. He clearly is an NFL quarterback. And 49ers just keep 49ers and Christian McCaffrey in it to win it as well. But the Giants should have legitimate concerns now as the Giants fan in this. And again, no protection for Daniel Jones leads to him getting eaten up. So, it wasn't as bad as the score represents, but the Giants clearly need to make some adjustments. It was a very big game on Monday night, which I'm really nervous about. I'm really nervous about, especially in prime time. Daniel Jones is 1-12 in prime time, and a Seahawks team that is pretty good and had them and defeated them last year. Not good for Big Blue.
I have some thoughts, but I'm going to let Alex take this one because I want him to get some time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, we our only baseline expectation was with this San Francisco game was, can they keep this game close? And unfortunately, they didn't. I thought that I was going to get a little more juice out of Daniel Jones, but we knew that things were going to be kind of one-dimensional on the offensive side of the ball with Saquon questionable and being out of the lineup.
Yeah, he's their whole offense. Clearly, that's what that game represented.
Yeah, you can't even keep San Francisco's defense honest if you're one-dimensional on offense. My fear is that moving through the season, I think that this kind of one-trick formula is going to be more exposed because it's going to be more pressure put upon Daniel Jones to overperform and overexert himself. I don't think he can put on the Jets and roll out and create an offense out of thin air. I think he's more of a game manager, as we know. But I mean, San Francisco did what they needed to do at home. They had hell served. They took care of business. I'm very impressed with Brock Purdy. Again, I have the similar expectational timeline with him as I do with Geno Smith. I need to see 2 years of tape to really give him the bag. But they had every weapon in the book, and I thought they just had total domination from the beginning of the game. Hell served.
Yep. Top NFC team for a reason. And one of the things that Hayden pointed out and the Giants did not facilitate was trying to throw the ball on this secondary. I mean, this guy, we have Jalen Hyatt, who essentially was the biggest receiver in the comeback against Arizona, getting less than 10 snaps. What's going on? I don't get. I know that they played much tougher opponents, but I'm just confused why a team that's relatively the same as last year and upgraded a little bit, especially offensively, are having a hard time. But those defenses are the defense is an issue right now, and Now then you're going up against a team with a strong running back committee, big weapons, and like I said, 101 points in 3 games.
I mean, I'll talk a little bit about the Giants. Like, in my opinion, their roster is flawed. They just don't have, in my opinion, as good of a roster as the elite. Like, even like, I mean, I know Dallas had a bad week this week, but I don't think they have as good of a roster as Dallas, Philly, or San Fran. They're just not quite on that level yet. Like, they're not. And they don't have the element of surprise this year like they had last year. Last year was a feel-good story. They kind of caught team by surprise because no one was really expecting after them. This year, at least, the teams are going to be prepared for that. Maybe this if they brought back the same roster from a lot of the same roster, that team's going to be able to game plan for them a little bit more. I mean, for me personally, the Giants, like, they're going to be in the playoff hunt for the NFC because the NFC, in my opinion, is terrible. After the top 3 or 4 teams, can you guys agree that the NFC is pretty is kind of crappy after like the first 3 or 4 teams? Like,
yes, they're pretty lousy. Nobody has
5,
stepped
6,
up or
7.
leveled up.
They're like 4, 5, 6, and 7. I feel like a lot of it is going to be like, I feel like is going to be up in the air. So they'll be in it. They're not that much worse than any of the other teams competing, like Detroit, like Tampa, like Seattle, the Rams. Like they're really like around the same level as those teams. So like they're going to compete for a playoff spot definitely.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really see any of these teams really being that much better if I'm being truthful. So they're going to be right around. They're going to be right in the mix. But like you're going to see when they play these elite teams, like they just can't compete. Like they don't have the roster. And like I even think versus Seattle they're going to have a hard time. Wouldn't shock me if they beat Seattle. Like an all-worldly team, like they should be competitive with Seattle, if I'm being truthful. But and it wouldn't
They
surprise me if
should.
they won. They should. It wouldn't surprise me if they won that game. But that being said, like they're just not quite at the level of the NFC elite. Yeah, they're not there yet. They have to do a lot of upgrades on the offensive line. They have to do upgrades. I mean, the receiving position is still a concern, even though they have Juan Robinson and Jimmy Hyatt. And they spent all off season talking about the Darren Waller was essentially like that last year. Not even saying it's close to it. In the off season, he's been kind of a disappointment. So, I mean, but we'll see. They're gonna have to really address that defense though, because the defense has been just brutal. I mean, really, really bad. I think even you agree with that, Matt. The defense has been terrible.
Yeah, like I said, can't tackle for shit and getting scored on like it's nothing.
So,
and then and again, this is a me thing, but people, and I've said I like Daniel Jones, and I was asking for making one of my clips of that. I'm a big Daniel Jones fan, and it's not a problem. Like I'm not upset about it, but man, people really text me about Daniel Jones as if I'm his father or something, complaining about him, and he's not on Justin Fields and Zach Wilson level. And he is, and I really think if he was protected more, he would shock a lot of people, especially in the game management aspect, as Alex alluded to. And he does have an arm, and he can show moments of accuracy, but he can't when he's always running for his life.
He has a big arm. I'll say that.
So
for sure.
The man's a big presence, and
he's mobile too.
I hope one day, because it's not anytime soon, that he's fairly protected. We have him at least 3 more seasons, and he can show his potential. That's what I have to say there. And then the 2 Monday night games, let's quickly head into it before we get our picks. The Eagles defeated the Buccaneers by a score of 25-11. Fun fact, that was a scoregami, if you didn't know. That never happened in the NFL. So the Eagles dominate on both offense and defense as they get the big win over Tampa. These Georgia Bulldog Eagles look like they're transitioning well on the defensive side, especially Jalen Carter. And, the Bucs, after a 2-0 start, reckon against weaker teams, had some humble pie this week. And Baker Mayfield showed some frustration there. Again, I think Eagles are being the Eagles in 2023, right? And then the Bucs maybe aren't as good as we thought. Out of the first 3 weeks, that is. I mean, we knew coming into them they didn't really have a lot of potential, but again, this is what happens when you play the best of the best.
Yeah, no, the Eagles are, they're doing what they're supposed to do, and they're supposed to win a ton of games. I mean, it hasn't been as pretty as maybe people would have anticipated. But that being said, Jalen Hurts is still a really good quarterback. They still have AJ Brown. They still have Devontae Smith. DeAndre Swift looks like a bat out of hell coming down the field. He's been slender. He lost a ton of weight, DeAndre Swift. Oh my God. I mean, like the last couple of years. He looks
Oh yeah.
really, I mean, he's been really good, DeAndre Swift. And Kenneth Gainwell starting to pick up some momentum and steam. So, like I said, they're gonna be just fine. They're gonna be one of the top two or three teams in the NFC, if not number one, unless San Francisco has something to say about that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, no, definitely. You know, credit to the Eagles. They won a game they probably should have won. I don't really think it says anything really that bad about the Bucs. The Bucs just, like you said, we know the Bucs aren't elite. I think they've been surprisingly good through the first 3 weeks, 2-1. You can't really fault them. Give them some credit for hanging tough with Philly. But they're not an Eagles level, and right now. But
well, that offense isn't, it can't compete with a lot of these high-powered NFC issue.
No, I agree with you on that. I do feel like Baker Mayfield, the offense has been better than people would have thought. To be honest with you, through the first 3 weeks, we can even agree with you. I think you can agree with me on that.
Yeah, but that's more of a bigotry of low expectations. I think he was kind of coming in as the journeyman on his last leg, and I think that having him take over in the absence of Brady, no one really expects much. So I think that if you're going to make the claim that they are the second best team in the NFC South or a possible contender for the top spot, you got to put up more than 11 points, even against Philly.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I mean, you could also say Jacksonville, the game last week versus Kansas City, it was 17-9 game. So it's like certain games, certain teams defensively play very good in certain games. Like you see it all the time. Like you would think that, this team's going to put up 30 points. And then you see at the end of the stat line, it's like, 17-16 game. Like that does happen in the NFL from time to time. Not saying you're wrong. Like you're right. I agree. It should put up more than 11 points. Correct. But that being said, you see these defenses that have these certain games, like that it just really depends. Like, did anyone think that the Chiefs Jags game would be a 17-9 game? Like, did anyone think that Jacksonville only put 9 points versus Kansas City, or Kansas City only put up 17 points versus Jacksonville? Like, it shouldn't happen, of course, but it does.
I'm excited to see the October 22nd game when Miami goes to Philly. That'll be very interesting.
Yeah, so I'm interested in that as well.
All right, the final game to discuss for week 3 is the Cincinnati Bengals at home defeat the Los Angeles Rams by scoring 19-16. It seems like the Rams didn't really put any offense until the fourth quarter, but Burrow shakes off his calf injury. They get their first win of the season, and the Bengals are on their way to try to get back to 500 and back into a groove again. But the Rams, again, a lot of people feel like they were really good, and then they played a legitimate team and struggled. So what do you guys think?
Well, the Bengals have a lot of room to improve still. They don't look nearly what they used to be like last year. I'm still very concerned about Burrow in this offense. I think they have a lot more to be left to be desired. They're still in last place, so it's going to be definitely a progression. It felt like this game, even when what gravely concerns me the most is that I think everybody else knew that this was their game to save their season. Even early on, they needed to make a statement, and they kind of went out with a whimper instead of a bang. And that really concerns me, because if this was your game to win at home with the crowd behind you and all the inertia and the energy in your favor, they should have been gangbusters. And they barely squeaked out a win with a struggling limited offense with the Rams. And so my concern is that they need to slowly, incrementally find ways to win and improve this style of offense, because they don't look anywhere close to where they were last year. And if I'm going to stand by my pick as them being the representatives of the AFC this year, I don't like what I see so far.
I mean, they got to let Joe Burrow get healthy. He's clearly not healthy.
Of course.
Like, yeah, he's not, I mean, it's tough to say. I don't think they should put him on injured reserve. I don't, but I could see the rationale. Like, you don't want to get him hurt any further, and he is your prized guy. Like, they do have a capable backup quarterback. So not that any team wants to be in that situation, but their backup quarterback actually is like pretty decent. And if you're playing Tennessee, like I actually think they could win a game. They could definitely beat Tennessee with a backup quarterback if they wanted to sit out Joe Burrow for this week, let his leg heal. I don't think it would necessarily be the worst idea per se. If you want to let his calf heal, because he's definitely battling through it. You could see he's gimpy. You could see he's just not. He's just
And
not
we
the
know what
player.
happens if you don't take care of that calf.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's not the
I'm
player.
sorry. Am I gonna say it? Yes, the Jets happened to that. Okay, sorry.
You know that, but yeah, they have a capable backup quarterback actually. If they wanted to play that angle and ran the ball, play defense, like they could stop Tennessee.
Yeah, Joe Mixon looked good last night.
Just an idea I posed out there. Versus the Rams, you don't want to start off 3-0, so there's a higher 0-3. I mean, so there's a higher sense of urgency. Whereas versus Tennessee, maybe there isn't as much. But that being said, you can't really underestimate any team. So because every team is not a guaranteed win in the NFL, because every team is. This is not like Alabama playing Chattanooga. This is like every team is NFL level for a reason. So, and I think their receivers also have to make some bigger plays. I'm not really happy with. Like I said, I'm not completely happy with what I've seen from Cincinnati. But that being said, I think they're going to pick it up. They're usually a team that starts off slow.
Look at that. Look at that. So let's get into our week 4 picks, everybody. Okay, here we go. Week 4 starts off on Thursday night. The Detroit Lions are going to the Green Bay Packers. Detroit opening at -1.5. What do we say right here?
I'm going to take Detroit in this game. I'm going to take Detroit with the spread and the money line.
I'm giving the points for Detroit as well. I think they're going to get a big victory on the road against the Packers like they did last season at the end of the year.
Yeah, I actually have Detroit winning by 4. I think it's going to be a game of possessions coming down to the wire. It's going to be somewhere around a low scoring game, but I have full confidence that Dan Campbell's going to be ready for this game.
Yeah, me too. Pretty confident in that. And we're going to go to the London series. It's that time of the year. 9:30 a.m. in the East Coast. If you want to watch this game, the Atlanta Falcons are playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville's opening at 3 points to start their London series. So give me Atlanta on this one. I'm going to say that Desmond Ridder figures it out, and the running back by committee runs over that Jacksonville defense, and they are going to get the win and the points.
I'll take Jacksonville with the points. I'm going to go Jacksonville 34-23 over Atlanta.
I got Jacksonville winning too. I think it's going to be a high scoring game similarly, and I think this is actually like a must win game for them.
Very must win. Okay. The Miami Dolphins are playing the Buffalo Bills at Buffalo. -2.5 is the spread, and it's going towards the Buffalo Bills. I'm going with the upset. Give me Miami on this one. I think the momentum they have against a team that may still be figuring it out. Now, I know they got 2 dominant wins against much inferior opponents. They had a hard time against a stellar defense in the Jets. And Miami, though they're not on the Jets level defensively, I do think they will give them a run for their money. Give me Miami with the upset on this, continuing their undefeated season.
I'm going to go Buffalo in this game, 34-33.
Oh, real close.
I actually think, surprisingly, I'm gonna take Buffalo in a high scoring game over Miami. I think Miami can't win every high scoring game, so I think they're gonna have to lose. They're gonna have to lose some, and Buffalo's pretty good. I still think Buffalo's a really good team. So, Buffalo has actually played well versus Miami in the past too. So,
Okay. Well, I conversely have a tight game as well, but I actually expect Miami to pull this one out. I think that the weather conditions are in their favor. It's early in the year. It's not going to be like a winter wonderland. I think they're on a hot streak right now. They have everything clicking early on in the season, and I think that if Buffalo gets their number, it's not going to be till later in the year where we see teams a little more complete, a little more full picture. But I have full confidence that the Dolphins are at this juncture the better team right now.
In the battle of the pathetics, the 0-3 Denver Broncos are going to Chicago to play the 0-3 Chicago Bears. Denver's opening at -3.5, and give me Denver on this one. They are lucky to play in a team that is absolutely a mess all over the place. And in a battle of the messes, I think Denver will get their first one of the year.
Battle of the turds, baby. Yeah, I think this could be like a 13-10 game. This is dog shit.
I think it's gonna be more points than that. Give me like a 23-20 game. I think Denver's gonna win this one on the last second field goal, but I think it's gonna be like closer than people think. And like
over under 46.
This is
close.
This is a pick'em game for me. Like there's no there's no one who I really wanna.
Now,
But the fact that Denver gets the Bears and the Jets with Zach Wilson after starting 0-3 is just a gift from God. Like Sean Payton should literally be like touching himself after that.
When we lock people up in Guantanamo Bay, do we sit them down in front of a TV screen and make them watch this game?
No. This is the worst game. And then you get subjected to the Jets Broncos next week, which is you could have Zach Wilson versus the Broncos. God help us. But I mean, I think Denver's going to win this game because they have a better quarterback.
All right, we have the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland is opening at -2.5. Pretty competitive game here, I would think. I think Cleveland's going to get this home victory, and they're going to get the points there.
Baltimore's opening as a favorite.
No, Cleveland is actually at -2.5, at least according to Caesars here.
I'm going to surprise you guys. I'm actually taking Baltimore here. The reason being is because this is a must-win game for them in the early stretch of the season, and I think that they need to make a statement with a team that clearly has the best of this division right now. I think Cleveland's hot. I think the Ravens have a lot to prove right now, and if Lamar Jackson is going to be worth the money that he alleges to be, he's got to outplay Deshaun Watson just straight up. There's no issues about it, because when you really look at it, they actually are deficient in the same positions. They both have their top running backs out, and they both have some stout defensive players that can really make plays. But it's going to come down to who has the better quarterback. And I just think for one game, I think Lamar can do that.
Who's home for the game? Is it
Cleveland's home.
Cleveland's home.
I actually am going to take the Ravens this game. Baltimore's has historically actually played pretty good in Cleveland, so I guess I'll take the Ravens in this game, not with a lot of confidence. I don't really have a lot of confidence in this game. I'm gonna go I'll go 2018 Ravens.
2018 Ravens.
But,
okay.
I mean, I would not be surprised at all if Cleveland wins this game. Like I said, right now I think Cleveland's the better team actually. But yeah, like you said, I think this is a perfect game for Lamar Jackson. Season.
100%.
All right, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Houston Texans. Pittsburgh's opening at -3 points on the road. What's happening here? Give me Houston on this one.
Give me Houston in this game too. I'm taking Houston.
Yeah,
I think CJ Stroud's been playing great. I don't think Pittsburgh's been overly impressive. Like I think CJ Stroud's gonna have a pretty good game, and give me the Houston Texans winning this game. They're not gonna put up 37 points. They're not gonna do that. Give me Houston in this game. 26-21.
I actually I have Pittsburgh winning this game because I don't trust Houston at home at a 1 o'clock start. I think that's going to be definitely have a deleterious effect on their preparation. And Pittsburgh, I mean, say what we want, they are hot right now. I think Texans, it was more of an anomaly that they have Jacksonville's number, kind of like Hayden alluded to. So I have Pittsburgh winning a tight, low scoring game on the road.
I think just CJ Stroud's confidence is just going to keep building, and like
I agree. I
think he's going to keep like building upon these games like he had versus Jacksonville. So I think you're going to see a great performance out of him. Like he's been really good. Like I've been very, very impressed by CJ Stroud. He's completing 65% of his passes. Hasn't thrown a pick yet. I think that's going to change versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's going to intercept him. I think Joey Porter Jr. or one of the guys in the secondary is going to get a pick for him. But I think CJ Stroud's going to make enough plays to actually win the game. And I think they're going to get the running game going with Damian Pierce.
All right, in another battle of the mid, we have the 0-3 Minnesota Vikings going on the road to play the 0-3 Carolina Panthers. Minnesota opening at -3.5. Give me Minnesota. Their first win of the year is going to come off the heels of this game, and that's what's going to happen. Minnesota, get the points.
Yeah, no, I'm taking Minnesota too. It's just one thing I'll say about Minnesota. It's shocking that they went like 11-1 in one-score games last year. Now they're 0-3 in one-score games this year. So
always happen
when a team wins all those games in a one-score game, usually you mean it's like a fluke. That's why they got why they lost to the Giants. So probably a regression should have been predicted. But no, give me the Vikings in this game. But I think it's also just hinging on if Bryce Young plays or not. If Bryce Young plays, I think the Panthers could very well win this game. Because I think Bryce Young's going to have one of his signature games early on. But give me the Vikings in this game. I'll take the Vikings like 31-24.
All right.
There's no way Carolina is putting up 24 points again.
You don't think they're putting up 24? Really? They put up 20 this week, didn't they?
Yeah. I see this closer to like a 20, I don't know, like a 27-20 game or so. I do agree that the Vikings, this is must win. Panthers as well, but I don't expect anything out of them coming into the season. They're a brand new team. They're all young. But I would give Carolina the points. I think that it's too close for comfort. I think Vikings, it's a must win game. So I'll take Minnesota.
So you're gonna take Minnesota with the money line, and then you're gonna take the Carolina with the points. Okay, that's fair.
Yep,
that's fair.
We have the Los Angeles Rams going to Indy this week to play the Colts. Indy opening at -1.5. Give me the Rams on this one. I think they can bounce back after a tough loss against Cincy. They'll stay on the East Coast, and they're gonna ride into the sunset with a victory.
Yeah, it's not a lot of travel. Normally, I would advise against West Coast teams staying east or going east, but not a lot of travel here. You're still playing indoor, warm weather. I would take the Rams as well to bounce back.
I got the Rams winning in this game too. I'll take the Rams. Like, it's a tough one to pick. It's gonna be a tough one to pick. Give me the Rams. 24-21 over the Colts.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to New Orleans. New Orleans opening at -3. Give me New Orleans in the Dome. They're gonna get this victory and the points.
This is gonna be a revenge game for Jameis Winston, actually.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who, by the way, he still has the most passing yards, I want to say, ever for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers franchise, just in case anyone didn't know that.
That's it.
Not the same. He does have the most passing yards ever in the history of the franchise, which should be noted. Like that's a pretty big it's a pretty big statistic to have for an NFL team. But we're gonna go. I'm gonna take Tampa in this game.
What's the spread, Matt?
The spread is -3.
New Orleans 3.5 to 3.
-3 for New Orleans.
Yeah, 3 even.
Yeah, I'm taking Tampa in this game, like 28-20. I think Tampa's gonna win this game by 8 points. Surprisingly, I know people are gonna be like, "Wow, you're crazy," but
No.
give me
No,
Tampa. Tampa.
I have Tampa bouncing back too. I think the Saints, they've had a little shock to the system. I think they're gonna be in a little disarray right now with the roster change at the helm. I have yet to see. I'm not sure how Dennis Allen will be able to command this offense. Moving forward, it's going to be very interesting. But Tampa's always played them tough, regardless of who's sitting at the helm. So I think Tampa's going to bounce back, and I have it somewhere around a 27-24 victory.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna. We'll say for me personally, like in this game, I think James is actually going to play well because James actually has been playing pretty well when he's been in. So
we have the Washington Commanders going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles are home -8. Even the deep spread, I think the Eagles can cover that and get the victory. Give me the Eagles and the points.
Yeah, give me the Eagles in this game, 34-20.
I have the Eagles winning, but I have taken the money line. I think that I never rule out a team that got embarrassed the week prior. This is a very emotional divisional rival matchup. I expect the Commanders to keep it close, even with an Eagles team. It's just going to be a matter of mitigating the run, which is a tall task. But I have the Eagles winning, squeaking by 27-23.
Yeah, no, mean, I can understand where Alex is coming from. I'm actually taking the Eagles with the spread and the points. But I'm with the spread and the money line. I'm still taking Philly. But that being said, not the Reds, the Commanders have played the Eagles very well in the past. It's a tough divisional game, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was a close game.
The Cincinnati Bengals are going up against the Tennessee Titans. Cincy opening at -2.5. Give me Cincy on this and the points.
Yeah, 100%. I actually see this as a wider margin of victory. I see this as like 10
definite lock.
Yeah, I think it's a lock as well. Even going to Tennessee, which they are, I just think that they're starting to click, and they just need to keep piecing it together. I think Titans are in disarray right now.
Yeah, I'm taking give me Cincinnati with the spread and the points.
All right.
Money line. So, yeah.
For this Vegas game, and by the way, somebody sent me a story about how a Raiders fan for over 30 years said he's done watching the Raiders. Alex, is that you? Because they've had a mental health and heartache because of his mental health and heartache. He wrote in a letter, just this has taken not only a toll, this has taken not only my time and money following this franchise, but has also taken my mental health. Having a team who you've rooted for your whole life reward you with absolutely nothing but heartache is not something I want to keep doing. I mean, that applies to everybody.
They've been worse than the Jets since 2002.
That's my whole existence as a fucking fan.
Yeah, no, they've been brutal.
Yeah,
they've been worse than
the Raiders.
They just don't get as much headlines because they don't play in New York.
Well, I can't take it anymore. No, especially in San Diego, they're gonna have a tough time.
Yes, and it's -5.5, by the way, against the Chargers, and the Chargers are favorited.
Oh yeah,
Chargers should be favored in this game, but I mean that being said, like the Chargers are the Chargers. They'll find a way to. Knowing the Chargers, they'll somehow find a way to lose to you guys. Like they will.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take Vegas and the points on this one.
I'm going to take. Gosh, you can never trust the Chargers. You can't ever trust them. Like losing to Miami, I can understand that. So to be honest with you, that game I could understand. The one versus Tennessee is just like I don't know how they lost that game, but I'm gonna be stupid again, and I'm gonna take LA with the spread and with the money line, which is dumb. I can't ever be confident taking Chargers, because you never know what you're gonna get. But
Yeah, you're gonna regret that one.
For this week, I'll take the Chargers. But it wouldn't shock me at all if they lost the game because of the Chargers. So
I would take the Chargers, but I'm gonna eat the points. I think my team will keep it tight, but ultimately we'll just outfail the Chargers.
New England is going to Dallas, 425 in Jerry World. Dallas opening at -7.
ooh, I'm taking
This is a tough one to
I'm
pick.
taking Dallas. Dallas money line. I'm taking New England with the points.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go with Hayden on
this
this one.
Really good.
I'm taking Dallas to win outright, but they're not covering that 7. That's high. I think this is going to be a low scoring game.
Yeah, especially Big Bill on that defense, leading that defense. Okay, this is interesting. The Arizona Cardinals are going to San Francisco. San Francisco is opening at -14.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, give me San Francisco will win this game, but give me the points on Arizona definitely.
Yeah, San Francisco's going to win this game, but give me the points on Arizona, 100%.
Oh, yeah. No, we're all in lockstep on that.
100%. Like, you'd be irresponsible to not take Arizona with the points the way they played.
Especially with a
Like,
division.
it's hard to beat a team by 14 in the NFL. Like, it's actually kind of hard.
Yeah.
All right. I don't mean to. This is the last time we'll do it this week, Hayden, but I have to mention that the Jets are playing the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City is going to MetLife Stadium. You said you will be there Sunday night.
There, yes.
Kansas City opening at -9.5.
Oh, God. I mean, I think this game is going to be closer than what the score will indicate. Like, I think the Jets will lose this game like 27-13. So I guess by that margin, you take the Chiefs with the money line and the spread. But that being said, I think this is going to be a close game till the fourth quarter because I think the Jets defense will hang tight versus Kansas City. Like, it will be like 20-10 in the fourth, or like something will happen where the Jets will keep it close till about the fourth quarter, and then Kansas City will pull away. So that's why I'm taking. That's why I'm. It's going to be closer than what the score indicates this game. That's what I mean to say. But I'm still probably. I think you should take the Kansas City with the points and the spread.
I expect a low scoring affair. I think what was it, 9.5? 9.5 seems a little much.
Jets 9.5 is not much. It's about right, but
no, I mean it seems just on paper, but I don't see it playing out that way on a Sunday night game. I think this defense is good enough to keep this game competitive.
It could be like a 20-14 game. Definitely, it could be like.
It feels like a 20-14 game.
I could see something like that. I mean, like the Jets defense is gonna play well.
Yeah.
At home on Sunday night, like they're not gonna want to get embarrassed.
Give the Chiefs the win, but the spread will be closed by the Jets miraculously. Okay. So Monday night will be the Seattle Seahawks playing the New York Football Giants. The Giants are opening at -1.5. Give me the Giants with this win and points.
This game over Seattle.
That's right.
Oh, because they're playing at home.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
West Coast team going East Coast.
Yeah, I could see that.
But on a Monday, it doesn't really count. I don't think.
I can see why you'd say that, but
give me in this game. Give me the Giants with the spread and the money line.
Definitely need this win.
I'm picking Seattle outright.
Probably should pick Seattle based on how who the rosters are. But
and Daniel Jones's primetime game history.
Because I think they're gonna get an early win at home to get to 2-2. They're playing on Monday night. Like Daniel Jones, you paid him all this money. I think he's gonna show why he's that dude. But you could also argue the same thing for Geno Smith too. That they just gave Geno Smith the bag and he wants to prove it too. So it depends. I think this game is more important for Daniel Jones than it is for Geno Smith.
A good game is definitely on the line here.
In a way.
All right, gentlemen, that will wrap up week 3. Now let's look ahead to week 4. We'll see you in a week to see how this all unfolds. See you tomorrow with college football, everybody. See ya. Bye, Alex. Goodbye, Hayden.
Good show.
See y'all.